Critical Role dropped some big updates on Vox Machina Season 3 in the Mighty Nein animated series, we bust a ridiculous rumor about the 2024 Player's Handbook sales, and Matt Mercer geeks out over Final Fantasy.
Nerd alert!
Welcome to Fantasy News Friday on the Character Sheet, your home for tabletop and fantasy news. Today we're talking some big Legend of Vox Machina updates from the Critical Role cast, we're busting some insane rumors about the D&D Player's Handbook sales, and the Matt Mercer Hozier meme is actually coming true. But before we tackle all those stories, please take a second to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help us keep making these videos. And with that done, let's dive into the news.
Cannonball!
Critical Role's Travis, Marisha, and Liam were at Fantastic Fest this week in Texas, and they dropped some big updates about the Legend of Vox Machina Season 3 and the Mighty Nein animated series for all the fans. Starting with Legend of Vox Machina, Travis revealed that they would be making significant changes from the actual play in Season 3, including potentially looking up fan favorite EXU Calamity Paladin Xerxes while they're in hell just to start, and teasing fans that while they think they know what's coming, that will definitely not always be the case. And of course, Travis had to drop in a joke about the most common claim being made against the Critical Role cast.
Just like our D&D campaign, it's scripted.
Yeah.
Travis also joked that while the supporting cast of Vox Machina has been amazing, with actors like the late Lance Reddick providing fantastic voice roles, the cast still jokes about forcing Matt Mercer to go back and redub over all their voices with his NPC voices from the original campaign. And Liam also admitted that they made all the painful moments even more painful and traumatic for Season 3, so get those tissues ready.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
As for Mighty Nein, both Liam and Travis teased that they had learned a lot from making Vox Machina, right after talking about how they were going to make significant changes to the story of Vox Machina for Season 3. Travis specifically talked about making sure they tweak the timeline and change up events to surprise the fans.
We got more of a Session 0 feel, it's grittier, it's darker, it's got a different format, although I won't go into what that means just yet.
And given what we've already seen from the Mighty Nein series, including the animation of the never-before-seen meeting of Jester and Ford, they're really driving home the fact that if we think Season 3 of Vox has some big changes in it, we had better be prepared for even more changes when the Mighty Nein animated series hits sometime next year.
Hopefully next year, late, maybe 2025 we get it.
And in other great news for Critical Role fans, you no longer need a Prime Video membership to watch both complete seasons of The Legend of Vox Machina. Starting right now until the premiere of Season 3 on October 3rd, you can watch every single episode of The Legend of Vox Machina Season 1 and 2 for free on the Prime Video YouTube channel. So if you've been waiting to watch The Legend of Vox Machina, or just never had an Amazon Prime account to get access to it before, go check it out right now on YouTube before it goes back behind the Prime Video paywall sometime on October 3rd.
Come on, give me it. Give me it.
A very misleading article has claimed that Wizards of the Coast may have sold under 4,000 copies of the new 2024 D&D Player's Handbook. And if that sounds crazy to you, it should, because the report is frankly ridiculous, and we'll explain why. We're not going to link to the article because there's no need to dogpile on the author of the article for what we hope is just a honest mistake. We've all made them and no need to rub their face in it, but we do need to set the record straight. So this article claims Wizards of the Coast has only sold around 3,700 copies of the Player's Handbook. Now, the problem there, as pointed out by the owner of one of the West Coast's biggest gaming stores on Facebook, is if that were true, his store and one other would account for nearly 10% of all sales, which is frankly ridiculous. In that same post, the problem with the articles becomes very clear, as the store owner claims the author of the article told him it was based off of BookScan numbers. The massive problem here is that BookScan only tracks A, physical copies of books sold, and B, only those physical copies sold at big box retailers like Barnes & Nobles and literal bookstores, not local game stores. And since Wizards of the Coast has literally made an entire marketing campaign around the Player's Handbook being available extra early in game stores, and game stores account for the vast majority of sales for physical D&D books, of course most people aren't buying their Player's Handbooks at Barnes & Nobles. Why would they when they can get it weeks earlier at their local game store and get special promo dice and D&D Beyond promos and all other kinds of cool stuff, plus their loyalty programs and punch cards they have at the store? So if that 3,700 units sold number sounds ridiculous to you, It's because it's so wildly misleading as to be basically useless. Wizards of the Coast has said the new Player's Handbook has not only sold 3 times as many copies as the 2014 version, but it's literally the fastest selling D&D book ever made in the 50-year history of the game. So while Wizards of the Coast may have only sold 3,700 or so copies at the Barnes & Nobles of the world, they've sold an order of magnitude more at local game stores across the nation.
And the truth shall set you free!
In other believable D&D news, they've also released a brand new adventure starring the grown-up versions of the classic D&D cartoon characters over on D&D Beyond. The cartoon heroes, plus their new friend Nico, are the player characters for the new Uni and the Hunt for the Lost Horn, an adventure for 4th level characters. And based on these character sheets, the cartoon heroes have grown up beefy, as they are packing some serious stats and some very powerful magic items. Bobby the Barbarian is rocking a 20 strength at level 4, for example, and they're all packing at least one very rare magic item like the Hat of Many Spells or the Thunderous Great Club. So this is a powerful level 4 party. Without diving into many spoilers, the basic premise is that Uni the Unicorn has had her horn stolen by a minion of the evil wizard Venger, and the party must retrieve it to restore her powers before Venger uses it for his own evil means. The adventure takes the party to some unexpected places and makes for a very solid 4-hour or so one-shot depending on how the characters approach certain situations. So if you need a solid rainy day one-shot or just want access to some cool new magic items on your D&D Beyond account, make sure you log into it and claim your copy today.
Check this out.
The Matt Mercer Hozier meme, based on a t-shirt that just says Hozier at the top in big letters but is full of pictures of Matt Mercer, and yes, it is pronounced Hozier, we had to double check that about 12 times, came one step closer to reality as the singer was on stage in San Antonio this week and offered to draw a fan's next tattoo for them. And of course, one of the options given to the singer by the fans was Matt Mercer, which got a massive pop from the fans in attendance.
Matthew Mercer. David Tennant.
While the singer ultimately didn't choose to draw Matthew Mercer for the fan, instead drawing a crying rain cloud that was somehow also happy, he clearly did know who Matt Mercer was, and so did the fans. Even Matt Mercer himself commented on the video, claiming if Hozier said his name 2 more times, they would simply combine and form Voltron, with Sam Riegel also commenting that it's happening. For the safety of Matt Mercer, we can only hope his other popular meme t-shirt does not start coming true as well.
Loot his corpse! Take his vest!
And speaking of Matt Mercer, he sat down with fellow voice actor Ben Starr, best known as the voice of Clive in Final Fantasy XVI, to just geek out over Final Fantasy for about an hour in a new Square Enix party chat video. Ben reveals how he found out he was being cast as main character Clive for Final Fantasy XVI and literally refused to believe it had happened. And Matt not only mentions the amazing story of how the Square Enix team pranked him when they revealed he would be taking the role of Vincent Valentine, but also dives into why Final Fantasy means so much to him, talking about the literal chills he got when he first saw the Final Fantasy VIII demo decades ago, and even remembering that that demo came packaged with the Brave Fencer Musashi game at the time.
The first demo for Final Fantasy VIII came out. I believe it was packed in with Brave Fencer Musashi, which is another Square title for PlayStation, and that whole, the moment like it boots up and you hear the Fithos, you're like, the chills, I'm getting chills now just remembering that moment you first watched that.
Matt and Ben spend so much time geeking out about their love of Final Fantasy VIII, you have to wonder if it could be the next game to get the remake treatment from Square Enix. But the real takeaway from their conversation, which was echoed by nearly every comment on the video, is that Ben and Matt have amazing chemistry, and Ben needs to get on Critical Role ASAP. This is also the second major collab Matt and Ben have done in the last few months, with Matt also being involved in the ad campaign for Magic the Gathering that Ben Starr did called Ben Smells, a Magic the Gathering fable. So could the clear chemistry between these two Final Fantasy voice actors lead to a new Critical Role guest appearance? We imagine we'll be finding out sooner rather than later.
Patience, my friend.
And finally, for those RPG fans that have been missing Dragon Magazine ever since that publication folded, Wild Mage Press has announced a new quarterly magazine aimed at D&D and TTRPG fans called Horizons, co-founded by Hannah Rose and Clara Daly, who helped create the fantastic Tal'Dorei campaign setting Reborn book for Critical Role and Darrington Press, and worked on D&D classics like Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus, the new magazine will include fully playtested material like new spells, magic items, and adventures, with 3 of the magazine's 4 main articles every month focused on D&D 5e compatible content, and 1 article focused on a different RPG system like Pathfinder 2nd Edition or Candela Obscura. The magazine will feature gorgeous illustrations as well, and with a commitment to interesting, fully playtested material, it could easily fill that void left by the departure of Dragon Magazine. You can check out their website now to make sure you get your copy when the first issue launches on October 9th. And that's all the stories we have on this Fantasy News Friday. Let us know which story was your favorite in the comments, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.